everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Thursday, March the 2nd, race number 7 at Gulfstream Park. We're going 5/8 of a mile on the turf. It's for fillies and mares, and it's a second level allowance. Let's take a look at this field. Pretty competitive field on paper, Mike. The number 7, Love and Money, is your 2-to-1 morning line favorite. She was 2-to-1 favored last time out in a similar spot, and she got beat a dirty nose. We know one thing about Love and Money. She's got speed.
Yeah, she's fast, and on her best day, she's really good also there. She's got a good amount of ability. It feels like turf sprinting is what she wants to do. I thought she ran well last time. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't quite hold on at the end, but she ran an absolutely fine race that day.
We take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this event, and we see Love and Money up close to the pace, along with the number 5, You Like Apples. And You Like Apples, Mike, like many horses in this race, returning from pretty lengthy layoffs, and that could be a key handicapping factor.
Yeah, that's true. There are several horses like that in this race. We'll see who's ready and who's not. I guess as far as You Like Apples goes, Dan, maybe she just brings that fresh speed off the bench here and is able to keep up with Love and Money early. We know Love and Money's going. That's You Like Apples running style as well. I guess coming off the layoff here, they're going to try to use it.
We'll start things off down towards the rail with the number 1, Nota Bene, who won a first level allowance at Saratoga going 5.5, and then ran a Kentucky Downs last time out. And I think the 6.5 at Kentucky Downs probably was a little bit too far for her, and B, that competition was likely a bit too tough. The fourth place finisher from that race came back to win at Keeneland with an 88 Beyer speed figure. She's going to have to deal with a September layoff.
Yeah, the layoff is a concern for her. But if, the pace projector is, kind of right anyway, Dan, and You Like Apples can go with the favorite in this race, probably nobody benefits more than this horse from any kind of fast or contested pace in this race. She likes to sit and make one run, which is what she did at Saratoga a couple of starts back there. She got a really good trip in that race, but she also really ran and won that race easily. And that was coming off of a race at Belmont where she just had a no chance trip in a race that wasn't coming back for her. She's actually pretty good, but she's going to need some things to work out for her here.
And the number 2 is Mac the PhD, a very lightly raced 4-year-old daughter of Fed Biz. All of her sprint races are good, including her most recent effort, but you got to go way back to Monmouth in the middle of July. This was the Blue Sparkler Stakes, and she got wired this day. She pressed the gate to wire winner. She gets tired at the end. The runner-up of this race would come back to run third in the Galway at Saratoga with an 85 Beyer. She's got positional speed and might be able to secure the rail.
Yeah, all those things are true. And I just think the fact that she's lightly raced, she's probably just one of those horses you want to give her another couple of starts to see, how good she actually turns out to be. Personally, Dan, I can't say that I was, so taken with any of her races last year. Certainly, it looked like when they went long first time out, it was a race that she really needed. After that, she improved, but I didn't think she improved a ton. And I know that was a tough race last time, but I didn't think she ran great in that Blue Sparkle. I didn't really like her in here, but I understand that she could improve.
A filly trying turf for the first time is up next. That's the number 3, Strategic Bird, who last raced in June at Hawthorne on the dirt, was listed as a vet scratch at Gulfstream on January the 22nd, and is now trying a new surface off of a lengthy layoff. It's too early to tell how the Noble Birds will do with turf sprinters. They're 0 for 12, but I just have a feeling he's not going to be a turf sprint stallion. The dam has foaled one turf runner that didn't win. There's a very tiny bit of turf in this pedigree, but this is the inside information. Educated Risk Phipps family, that's all dirt.
Yeah, it is all dirt, but those Phipps families, they can do anything, those horses. We'll see. You're right, though. It's mostly a dirt family. Like you, I'm not going to hold my breath that Noble Bird turns out to be a turf sire. This horse was pretty good on dirt. I won't be betting her in her turf debut.
The number 4, Have a Good Day, has some things to recommend her at a price, especially if she goes off close to that 12-to-1 morning line. She was a group stakes winner in France in 2021, and at the end of that year was purchased for $335,000 and sent to North America. She raced 3 times last year, all against very tough competition in stakes races. Last time out, she was overmatched in the Franklin and Keeneland against a couple of next out winners. You might have heard of one of them. The winner, Caravel, came back to win the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint with a 107 Beyer. So major class relief, and perhaps most importantly, Lasix for the first time.
Yeah, a little bit of a layoff here, but that's not supposed to be too big of an issue, I don't think. Dan, you're right. I think more than anything else, you just want to sort of look at her, even her form, overseas as a younger horse. Just faced really good competition over there. Got over here last year and just ran in 3 straight tough races. And listen, ultimately, the Saratoga race and the Keeneland race did her best in both of those races. Just wasn't good enough.
You Like Apples, the number 5, one of the expected pace protagonists from Timeform US's pace projector. She hasn't run since early October, where she was in a stakes race at the Meadowlands restricted to 3-year-old fillies. After that race, she went through the auction ring. She was bought back for $95,000. She was listed as a vet scratch at the fairgrounds on December the 3rd, listed as a vet scratch at Gulfstream 12 days later, and now she returns off a lengthy layoff. But she's going to go show fresh speed, and this barn is very dangerous.
Yeah, it goes for a trainer switch here to a really good trainer, but she was in a good barn and 2 good barns before that also. So, we'll just see that if she's going to be able to improve enough, because she's going to have to improve here. She's going to have to do it while likely contesting the pace with another fast horse. And ultimately, I think you have to be at least a little bit concerned about her class.
Manon earned a stakes placing when trained by Chad Brown back in 2021. She only raced once for Brendan Walsh last year. That was at Colonial Downs, and she faced a really good turf sprinter that day. Change of Control won that race, and she would come back to run second on the Smart and Fancy at Saratoga with a 93 buyer. She might have the right running style for this race, but is another coming off a summer layoff.
Yeah, it's a long layoff. Apparently, I would just have to assume maybe something went wrong with her there in her first start for Walsh. You're right, that was a pretty tough spot at Colonial. She didn't run well that day. Her prior start, the last one for Chad Brown at Belmont, she didn't run well that day either. So those things are big concerns, Dan. But prior to that, she looked like a horse who had an awful lot of potential. And I sort of, I can understand why Chad tried to stretch her out as a 3-year-old, because she started out with a ton of potential. She was super impressive, winning her stateside debut sprinting, and they tried to go long with her. It didn't work out. She even ran well when they cut her back last April off the layoff. That's a race where she got really unlucky not to win. I think she's a turf sprinter, and I wonder if regrouping for Walsh was the right thing to do.
The morning line favorite in here is up next, the number 7, Love and Money. And you can click on the trainer's name in your free formulator past performances. Get all kinds of trainer stats. Cherie DeVoe does very, very well with horses returning third off a layoff of 6 months or more, especially on turf. Here's Love of Money's last race, returning to the turf in a 5/8 of a mile event. Now, the fractions are very fast in this race. There wasn't a ton of closing going on, however. Love and Money did shrug away her pace pursuer, and she's just going to get run down at the wire. She ends up second in between 2 next out winners. The third place horse would come back to win 2 of her next 3, including the ladies turf sprint at Gulfstream.
Yeah, I just got nailed there on the wire by a really underrated horse and trained Artemis, who just shows up every time and runs. And it just got her there. I thought Love and Money ran fine there, Dan. I thought, off the layoff there, the long layoff in December on the all weather, to me looked like a race that she really needed. And I thought that she would benefit from it last time. I think she did benefit from it and ran a winning race and just couldn't quite hold on. And in a lot of ways, she's way the horse to beat. Yeah.
Now, there are layoffs, and then there are layoffs. The number 8, Choose Joy, is coming off a 516-day break. Before the layoff, everything was going swimmingly. She'd won 4 of 5. It didn't matter whether it was turf. It didn't matter whether it was synthetic. We'll go back to 2021 and watch Choose Joy's most recent race. This race is over the synthetic surface. She's on the outside. She does what she has to do. She overcame a slow start to win. The layoff is a huge, huge concern. This horse was in very good form before the break. 7 wins from 13 lifetime starts.
Yeah, and a stakes winner sprinting on turf too. It just feels like whatever happened to her there can't have been anything good, Dan. She's been away for a really long time, and when she left, she was just in raging form. I don't, whether you can expect her to come back in that kind of form or not, I don't know. And it's not like she comes back into some kind of soft spot. This is actually a good field.
Then number 9 is Lioness of Brittany, making her first start of the year. Her turf sprint form is very good. She's stakes placed on the surface. She's coming off a good effort over a synthetic track. This race, starter optional claiming event, going 5/8 on the Tapeta. Lioness of Brittany sitting on the outside. She's the gray filly. She'll get up for second. She's now hit the board in her last 5 races. And the third place finisher from this race would come back to be stakes placed on dirt with a 76 buyer, stakes placed on turf with a 77.
Yeah, another horse who's, you can't really knock her overall form down. It does kind of feel like she's coming back off a little bit of a laugh here in a pretty tough race. She's never really run a race that's, going to make it fast enough for her to be competitive at the end here. It just feels like she's in a tough spot, but a price if you like her.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for Thursday's DRF race of the day, a nice turf sprint at Gulfstream. Minon comes off the layoff for Brendan Walsh, but she showed that she probably is at her best sprinting on the turf. She's faced good competition, and she might get the right setup in here.
Yeah, I feel like it could set up for her, Dan. We'll see how it shakes out in the early going for her. I do think she's a turf sprinter, though. Her last 2 starts are obviously real concern. She didn't run well in those races. So I like that they regrouped with her, though. I think if she comes off the layoff, which she's done very effectively in the past, if she can go back and run her good race, I think she's really tough in here. I couldn't go back to Love and Money. I really liked her last time. I bet her last time. She just came up short. I'm not going to try her again as the favorite.
Love and Money is also unrateable. It's not like she can sit off the lead. She pulls very hard early, and she might have to deal with the returning You Like Apples in the early portion of this race. I think if she runs back to her last race, she wins, but I also want to use the number 4, Have a Good Day, at a much better price. Expensive purchase, dropping in class, off the layoff, Lasix on. There are things to recommend. 6714 for Mike, 7486 for me. For Thursday's race of the day, it's the 7th at Gulfstream Park. Best of luck.